Hey everybody, just wanted to make sure that we kind of went through the notes here to make sure that you understood what we were talking about with circles and circumference. I've had several questions today. I tried it with just the notes, so maybe it'll help if I do a video to go along with it for those of you that are doing well with these videos. So today we're talking about circles and circumference. We're done with percents and decimals, so we're kind of moving on to more geometry stuff. So circles and circumference. So we're talking about circumference of a circle. That it means this is this whole distance around a circle. So we're going to label that with the C. So make sure that we know that circumference is labeled with a C. Diameter is a straight line that goes through the center of a circle, and it goes from one end of the circle to the other. So we're going to label that with a D. So diameter is going to be labeled with a D. The radius is only halfway, so that's half the diameter. It's going to the center point to the outside of the circle. We're going to label that with an R. Okay, so make sure that we understand that radius is equal to half the diameter, and the diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. So as we go forward, that's important to know. So as we go to this page, it just wants us to ask us what the radius and the diameter is on these two problems. So radius, so if the radius is half of 36, so we know that we're just going to take 36 and we're going to divide it by 2. That's going to give us 18. So our radius is 18 centimeters. Make sure that we're labeling. Okay. Our diameter, which means it's our radius times 2, so 6.5 times 2. And that is going to be equal to 13. And that is in centimeters as well, because they're right there. So our diameter is the radius times 2, and our radius is the diameter divided by 2. So make sure that we keep that in mind as we go forward. So if we go to the next page, again, it just wants us to find the diameter or radius. You guys should have these notes written out, but hopefully it's going to help to explain it a little bit. So if we have a diameter of 17 and our radius, we want to know what the radius is. We're just going to take that 17 divided by 2, which is going to give us 8.5. There's nothing to label here. We're not giving you any distance markers here. Okay. On a diameter of 14, we want to know what the radius is. So we're just going to take our diameter divided by 2. So that gives us a radius of 7. When we have a radius of 12.5, we want to know what the diameter is. We're just going to take that and we're going to multiply our radius times 2. Okay, so that's just going to give us 25. That's what our diameter is. Here it's just going to be 6 times 2 to get our diameter, so our diameter is 12. So hopefully you understand that. So make sure you understand that your diameter is the radius times 2. Your radius is the diameter divided by 2. So know that going forward. So that gives us 2 different formulas for us to work from. So the first one is if we know the diameter. So we get circumference equals pi, which our pi, we're always going to use 3.14. Okay, we're not going to use the big long number for pi because it just continues and continues. Give us a really big number. So we're not going to do that. So we're just going to use 3.14. So this would be circumference equals pi, which is 3.14 times the diameter. So that would be our formula. Or we can use, if we know the radius, we could use circumference equals 2 times pi times r. So we can use both of these, and you're going to see it as we go through the rest of these notes. You're going to see both these formulas kind of in play. So as we look at this first problem, it says Mark recently replaced his front bicycle wheel. How far does the bike travel with each revolution of his new front wheel? So it's going to go as far as the circumference of the wheel is. So that's what we want to know. Is we want to know what the circumference of this wheel is. Okay, so we're going to use our formula, which circumference equals pi times the diameter, because we know the diameter, right? It's right there. So if we fill in our numbers, so circumference is equal to pi and our diameter times 26. Okay, and we multiply that. So what we know is 26 times pi. That is our exact number. So we're going to know that that's exact. So this is same as saying 26 pi. So that would be exact. There's nothing approximate about that. But if we go forward and we go ahead and do 26 times 3.14, Now we're going to get an approximate number. So we're going to get circumference is going to be equal to 81.64 inches. And that's going to be our approximate number because we're using only 2 decimal places into the hundredth decimal of pi, because normally pi is a big number. So that makes it approximate. It's close. That's what we're saying. So make sure that we understand the difference between an exact number and our approximate number, okay, as we go forward, because you're going to have to know that for your homework. So let's go on to problem number 2 with the soccer ball. Okay, not my choice to use the soccer ball. Sorry, football boys. So we know the radius. The radius is 60 millimeters. So let's use the formula for radius, which is circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. Okay, so we're going to get circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius of 60. So that when we multiply the 2 and the 60 together, we're going to get 120 times pi. Now this is our exact number. Okay, there's nothing approximate about that. 2 times 60 is 120, and we're going to multiply it by pi. Okay, so that's our exact number. So let's go ahead and multiply out and finish the problem at 120 times 3.14, which is our approximation for pi. So we're going to get C equals 376. 376.8 millimeters. I can't write today, but this is our approximate number, remember, because pi is approximate for us, because we're not using the whole number of pi. So that's approximate. So make sure that we know the difference between these two things. Okay? So let's go on to the next one, which is with a barrel. It wants us to find the diameter of the barrel given the circumference. So now we know the circumference, and we need to know the diameter. So we're still going to use our circumference equals pi times diameter. We're still going to use that number. So let's fill in our numbers. So we know our circumference is 78.5. So 78.5 equals pi times diameter. Okay, we really don't have an exact number here because we're not multiplying anything. So we want 78.5 equals 3.14, okay, d. That's our one-step equation. We want to get d by itself, so we got to divide by 3.14, right? So they cancel out. 3.14. So our diameter is equal to 25 centimeters. Okay, so there's your answer. Okay, remember centimeters from there. Okay, so hopefully that helps that make sense a little bit. Let's go on to the next one. We've got a Ferris wheel. Okay, a Ferris wheel with a circumference of 220 feet. So Kayla and Theo got on a Ferris wheel that is shown in our picture. About how high will they be at the top of the Ferris wheel? So use the circumference formula to find the diameter of the Ferris wheel round to the nearest tenths. So we want to know what the diameter is. So that's that hole right through the middle, that line right there. So we're going to use our circumference equals pi times diameter. That's going to be our formula we use. We know our circumference, 220 feet. So let's go ahead and plug in our numbers. Okay, and that's pi times diameter. So we're good there. 220 is equal to 3.14 times diameter. We got to get d by itself. This is our one-step equation we've been doing forever. So we get that to cancel out. 3.14. 220 divided by 3.14. So our diameter is going to be equal to 70. And if we round to the nearest tenths, it's going to be 70.1. And we're using feet. So 70.1 feet. So there's our answer right there. So hopefully that makes sense when you hear me explain it out a little bit like that. Okay? All right, so let's go to our last one. And this one we have to figure out 2 circumferences. And we want to know what the difference between the outside circle, which is going to be bigger than the inside circle. So we got to figure out both things. And we need to use the radius because it's giving the radius in the problem. So for both of these we're going to use our circumference is equal to 2 times pi times r. Okay, so our inner circle has a radius of 10 feet. Our outer circle has a radius of, it's 10 feet plus another 2 feet, so that is equal to 12, right? So our outer circle has the circumference that we're looking for, 2 times pi times our radius of 12. Okay, does that make sense? So we get circumference 2 times 12 is going to be equal to 24 pi. Now this is our exact number. Okay, nothing's going to change that. That's not approximate. That's exact. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish it out. So C equals 3.14 times 24. So our circumference is going to be equal to 75.36 feet. Okay, so that's our outer circle. Our inner circle, we're still trying to find the circumference. It's going to be equal to 2 times pi times 10. So our circumference, when we multiply 2 times 10, is going to be 20 times pi, and that's our exact number. Okay, so that's exact. There's nothing's going to change that. 2 times 10 is 20. So let's go ahead and multiply out the 20 times 3.14. Okay, so our circumference is going to end up equaling 62.8 feet. Now that we know the circumference of both circles, we want to know which one is greater. Okay, so how much greater is the circumference of the outer circle? So in order to find out how much greater the outside circle is, we need to subtract these two numbers. So let's make sure we're doing all the steps. Finish your problems. Do all the steps. We're going to subtract by 62.8, which is going to give us 12.56 feet. So this is our actual answer. Now we had to do both problems in order to figure out that answer. So to make sure that we do both the problems, then we get to this final answer. Let's make sure we're doing everything the question is asking us. For the last couple of weeks, we've been doing percents and decimals and markdowns and markups, and you guys were only doing half the problem. You're either putting the sales price on without putting the markup or the markdown, or putting the markup and the markdown without putting the sales price on there. So make sure you understand what the question is asking you, that you do the whole question. So one thing I'm going to add to this, we're going to go ahead and do problem number 1 on our homework together. So as we go to this, okay, we're going to look for an exact number and an approximate number both. Okay, so as we go through this, we know the radius. So we're going to use C equals 2 times pi times r, right? Because we know the radius. So as we do this, circumference, which we're trying to figure out, 2 times pi times 5, right? That's going to give us 2 times 5 is going to be 10 pi. So this is going to be one of those things where our exact number is going to be 10 pi inches. Okay? That's exact as we're going to get. Okay? So that's our exact number. Now let's go ahead and multiply this out to 10 times 3.14. So C is going to equal 31.4 inches, and that's going to be an approximate. Okay, because we multiplied it by pi, but we didn't multiply it by the entire pi number. Okay, so that answer is actually going to be 31.4 inches. So that's how we get an exact number, and that's how we get an approximate number. So that's problem number 1 on your homework. You can do the other, I think there's 5 total problems to do the other 4 on your own. Make sure that you're turning the stuff back into me. Don't complete it and not turn it in. Make sure you turn it back into me, and I'll get it graded. I'm going through grades now and trying to get some stuff in the grade book, so make sure that you're looking for some of that stuff on Power School to make sure that you get everything finished. So I hope this helps. I'll put up another video tomorrow of area of a circle. I might do it yet tonight and post it late tonight. on my YouTube channel, and I'll post a link on Google Classroom on how you can get to that video to take a look at it. So hopefully this helps for those of you that have questions. If you don't have any questions and you're getting through it fine, great, awesome. So just make sure you turn it in. So everybody have a great week. I miss you guys.